over here at the auxiliary North Pole workshop talking to one of the disgruntled elves here. Now this man, he says that Santa Claus is really not a very nice person at all, and he wants to tell the world all about it, and here we are with the horrifying winter exclusive for Christmas time. Hey, Mr. Elf, will you please tell me what your problem is with Santa Claus?
Thanks, Mr. Rather. But I was pigeonholed as being different from the time I was a little tiny elf. You know, and he discriminated against me just because I lived the outlaw life.
But Santa Claus has always been a nice, happy, jolly fellow. You don't think he's friend with you? He'd not be a nice man?
He might be happy to the jolly to the status quo elves, but guys like me get stuck in working conditions like that. Imagine trying to make something decent for some little kid out of a beer bottle and a used tampon.
But he knows that you've been good and bad, so if you were bad, you don't be treated nice. That's the way the story goes, right?
But let me tell you about good and bad. That Mrs. Claus always got her hands all over me. That bitch doesn't know what no means.
But you saying that Mrs. Santa Claus is doing the big in out like a walrus?
I tell you, she's got more elf tracks along her thighs than most stretches of the North Pole out here.
Well, that's a scary thing, you know. I don't see how it's a very hard thing for our people to believe. You know, Santa Claus has always been a wonderful man for me and my children. You can't tell me his wife is a walrus.
Nah, she's not a walrus, but Santa Claus is happy, if you know what I mean. Why do you think all the elves up here are males?
Well, that's about all I can take of this. Back to you, Arnie, because I'm really feared now.
Hi, Al Crash here, and it's Christmas time down at Ugly Duckling Parachute Used Rentals and Sales. This month we've got a special on parachutes that open on impact. I'd like to take this time just to say that we had nothing to do. It was not an accident. The guy was definitely committing suicide no matter what he was screaming on the way down. But I'd like to just stop digressing and just remind you that we have a well-trained staff of parachute folders, and these guys work around the clock, if you know what I mean. And that's about it. You all have a very Merry Christmas, and remember, keep on flying.
It's Heimlich McLicken.
That's Hyman Lickman. Hello, I'm here today to introduce to you a modern alternative to the traditional form of performing the breast circumcision, rite of passage of manhood. Yes, it's the breast-o-matic. It slices, it dices, it circumcises. Now this is 100% 440 stainless steel from Japan, and everybody knows them little Jap bastards, they got the market on everything. I have such faith in this product that I'm going to demonstrate for you a circumcision with the breast-o-matic. First you hold the penis firmly above the shaft, taking the knife, placing it up, and this is my tip jaw. But you notice that there's like no blood, very little trauma, and I probably won't be able to make my love to my wife for maybe a month, but at least I got the job done. Remember, live from Bronco. Oh shit. Only $19.95, the breast-o-matic. Thank you.
Let's see.
How you doing, boys and girls? Again, it's Captain Sheila here, Army Hearties, and more stories of the manly life at sea. Behind me you see one of my favorite prints of maritime art. It's San Francisco in the harbor, and that leads us to today's story. And even though we know that life at sea can be very manly, a good portion of a seaman's life is spent on shore, especially around harbors, hanging around bars. And I'd like to just tell you about some tales that we've had in the past when we get back to port after years and years of being just huddled together in a hold and a boat rocking back and forth, not washing very often. And then when it's time to come back to port, we all know what that means. Comforting with the locals. And so, I'm going to tell you a ribald's tale of one of my little sojourns into a little homo corral called the Harpoon Club. It reminds me now. Yes, we were coming back from a whaling expedition, and we know what we mean by whaling expedition, don't we? Of the deep. So I cruised into town, and I found my favorite little butch friend, Rothko. And Rothko had been down the Cape Horn. Envy. And he was telling me these tall tales about South American cannibals, and you know they love to eat meat. Well, that just made me cream in my jeans.
Well, looks like time's up, kids. So next time on Captain Sheila's Ribald Manly Tales of Life at Sea, we'll talk about bar hopping.
Tune in next week.
Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah.
Back in the Old West, there was a certain way of dealing with things. Two men stand opposed in an open field.
Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah.
You stinking gringo bastard. You stole my wife. You raped my horse. I'm going to kill you now.
You make the worst picante sauce I've ever tasted. I'm gonna fill your belly full of lead.
Ugh.